Imagine waking up one day to find that death is no longer a certainty, but a choice. This isn't the plot of a sci-fi movie. It is the serious prediction of Ray Kurzweil, the director of engineering at Google. He claims that by the year 2045, humans will transcend biology and merge with machines. Welcome to the world of the singularity is near. Ray Kurzweil is a man with a track record. Having predicted the rise of the internet and the fall of the Soviet Union with eerie accuracy, he now turns his gaze to the ultimate destiny of our species. The core of this book lies in the law of accelerating returns. Kurzweil argues that technological progress is not linear, but exponential. While we tend to think the future will unfold at the current pace, history shows that progress doubles faster and faster. This means the next 100 years will not experience 100 years of progress. It will witness 20,000 years of progress at today's rate. At the heart of this explosion are three overlapping revolutions: genetics, nanotechnology, and robotics, GNR. Kurzweil paints a vivid picture where genetics allows us to reprogram our biology away from disease and aging, effectively turning off death. Nanotechnology will introduce microscopic robots into our bloodstreams, destroying pathogens, correcting DNA errors, and keeping us perfectly healthy from the inside out. Finally, robotics, specifically strong AI, will allow us to merge our biological brains with non-biological intelligence. The singularity is the point in time when this technological intelligence explodes, becoming so advanced that it radically alters the fabric of human reality. Kurzweil sets this date around 2045. By then, non-biological intelligence will be billions of times more powerful than unenhanced human intelligence. We will be able to back up our brains, upload our consciousness, and exist in virtual reality environments that are indistinguishable from the real world. The distinction between human and machine, real and virtual, will vanish. Some call him a prophet, others call him a dreamer. But as we watch AI models like GPT rapidly evolve, Kurzweil's roadmap seems less like fantasy and more like a schedule we are strictly following. He envisions a future where the universe itself wakes up, saturated with intelligence. It is a story of hope, suggesting that we are not the end of evolution, but the beginning of something godlike. So if the timeline is correct, we are just moments away from the biggest event in history. Let's switch over to NotebookLM to examine the specific timeline of predictions Kurzweil made and see exactly how many have already come true and what is coming next year.
So let's talk about one of the most audacious, frankly mind-bending predictions about where humanity is headed: Ray Kurzweil's vision of the singularity. It's an idea that, if it comes true, will completely rewrite what it even means to be human. All right, let's just jump right in. Let's get to the core prediction that has absolutely captured, and let's be honest, seriously challenged the world's imagination. The futurist Ray Kurzweil has actually put a pin on the calendar. We're not talking about some vague, far-off future here. He has set a very specific year for a moment he believes will change everything, irreversibly. And that year? 2045. But what in the world is the singularity? Well, in Kurzweil's view, it's the point where technological change starts moving so incredibly fast, and its impact is so profound, that human life as we know it just transforms. It's the moment we fully merge our biology with the technology we've created. And listen, the person making this claim isn't some fringe voice shouting from the sidelines. We're talking about Ray Kurzweil. He's one of the world's leading inventors and thinkers, a guy who's a top engineer at Google. This is a forecast coming from a key architect of the very tech world we live in today. Now, here's the part that really makes you stop and listen. He's not just making wild guesses. Looking back at 147 of his predictions since the 90s, he claims an 86% accuracy rate. That's a track record that lends some serious weight to what he says is coming next. And he's actually laid out a roadmap. He thinks that by 2029, which is just around the corner, an AI will be smart enough to pass the famous Turing test, meaning it's achieved human-level intelligence. But that's just a warm-up act for 2045. That's the year he says the singularity hits, when we merge with that AI and multiply our intelligence. 1 billion times over. A billion-fold increase? I mean, how could a change that radical possibly happen so quickly? Well, the answer lies in the engine that's driving this whole process. Kurzweil calls it the law of accelerating returns. And the idea is actually pretty simple, but it's incredibly profound. Progress doesn't move in a straight line. It's exponential. Think about it. The more powerful our tools get, the faster we can build even more powerful tools. Each breakthrough speeds up the next one, creating this feedback loop where the pace of change just keeps getting faster and faster and faster. So how is this acceleration actually showing up in the real world? Well, Kurzweil argues that it's all happening right now, and it's being driven by three huge overlapping technological revolutions that are going to define our century. First up, there's the genetics revolution. This is all about us finally taking control of our own biological source code. The more we understand the information that makes us tick, the more we can learn to reprogram it, to fight disease, to slow aging, you name it. And this is not some far-off dream. This stuff is well underway. We're already seeing technologies like CRISPR, which lets us edit genes with incredible precision. And we're even 3D printing biological tissues in labs. We are literally learning to write and rewrite the code of life itself. The second revolution? Nanotechnology. This gives us the mind-blowing ability to build and manipulate things at the atomic level. This means we could, in theory, redesign and rebuild our bodies, our world, anything, molecule by molecule. And while tiny nanobots patrolling our blood might still feel like something out of a movie, you're probably already using nanotechnology. From cancer-killing nanoparticles being tested in medicine to the advanced sunscreen you put on at the beach, this revolution is quietly happening all around us. And that brings us to the third, and maybe the most powerful revolution, robotics. Or to be more specific, strong artificial intelligence. We're not talking about the AI in your phone. We're talking about a non-biological intelligence that's just as smart and creative as a human, and eventually, way, way more capable. Look, we bump into basic AI every single day, right? It's in our phones, it's protecting our bank accounts, but that is just the prelude. That's just the baby steps towards machines that can genuinely learn and solve problems on their own, on a level that will one day surpass our own brain power. So what happens when you smash these three exponential curves together? See, it's not just that they're happening at the same time, they actually feed each other. AI makes genetic research go faster, which is enabled by breakthroughs in nanotech. You get this cascade of innovation. And when you combine total mastery over our biology, matter, and intelligence, well, you start to paint a picture of a radically optimistic future. Kurzweil's vision is basically a utopia. He sees a world where we finally solve those ancient human problems, like disease and poverty. He talks about this wild idea of longevity escape velocity. That's the point where, for every year you live, science extends your life by more than a year. You'd effectively stop aging. It's a world where merging with AI lets us master every skill humanity has ever developed. But all of this incredible, world-changing power, it naturally leads us to a really profound and, frankly, absolutely critical question. Can we really, truly trust an intelligence that's exponentially more powerful than us? What happens when we're no longer the smartest things on the planet, when we can't just pull the plug? What happens then? And this brings us right to the heart of the whole debate. On one hand, Kurzweil argues we shouldn't worry. We're building this AI based on our own values, so it'll just be an extension of us. But the counterargument is pretty powerful. Humans are flawed. We make mistakes. We are capable of some terrible things. So an AI trained on all of our data, well, it's inevitably going to reflect our worst impulses too. One critic, Casey Luskin, framed the problem perfectly. He basically said that if trusting an AI is like trusting another person, well, anyone who's seen the dark side of humanity is going to have a hard time blindly trusting it. And then you have other critics who are, well, a bit more direct. They dismiss Kurzweil's whole vision as future schlock. They argue that his timeline is just ridiculously optimistic, and that all the real-world biological and ethical problems aren't just going to magically melt away because computers get faster. And that really leaves us with this final, very provocative thought. As we build this incredible future, are we really creating some kind of new, benevolent God to solve all our problems? Or are we just building a more powerful mirror, one that's going to reflect back at us not only our greatest triumphs, but also our deepest, darkest flaws?